We've just finished looking at the general settings underneath the page inspector for each page of your website, and now we want to go to the header tab. And in the top portion of the header tab we see a section for meta tags, and this gets into some kind of behind the scenes SEO work, and things get a bit controversial here because in the past meta tags were extremely useful and paid attention to in large part by the search engines to help them identify the topics and subjects of your website. But what happened is people started taking advantage of the meta tags, keyword stuffing as they call it, where they just placed a ton of keywords into the meta tags even though that content did not actually exist on the pages of their website. And so someone might have even attracted visitors through completely unrelated search terms simply by plugging keywords into the meta tags. So this is something that the search engines do not value nearly as highly as they used to, and some will argue that they're completely useless and it's not even worth wasting your time with. Ultimately, I believe that if you have great content, then you really can get by without using meta tags at all, especially the keywords meta tag. But ultimately, I don't think it hurts either to use them, and so if you've got time, then I would certainly recommend going ahead and doing that, because at the very least, like I said, it won't hurt, and there is a description meta tag that can actually be useful. So let's go ahead and look at how we would do this in RapidWeaver. I'm going to click on the plus button here on the right, and that adds a blank row to my meta tags, and we have two columns, name and content, and underneath the name column I want to double click to get a blinking cursor. I'm going to type keywords, plural, all lowercase, and I'm going to add one more line. Clicking the plus button again, I'm going to type in the word description. Now for the content, I'm going to double click again on the first row and underneath the content column, and now I've got my blinking cursor and I want to put in my keywords. And so for this website design services website, I would do website design, search engine optimization, shopping cart, go ahead and put in some niche markets, Dallas, Fort Worth, etc. And as you can see, it is comma separated. You can have multiple terms between commas like SEO and shopping cart, but comma separated, and I would recommend no more than 15 to 20 terms here inside the keywords. You can keep typing as long as you want to. RapidWeaver does not stop you from doing that. And when you're done, just go ahead and enter, and that will put those into the keyword section. And then we'll do likewise for the description line. I'm going to double click into content, and now I'm going to type in a description. Now this is plain English, or whatever your language may be, but it's just complete sentences. You can use punctuation, and so it would be something similar to maybe the opening sentence of your website in the content, something like Red Spot Design offers website design services, etc. in Dallas and Fort Worth, and that's a descriptive meta tag for your description. You can see that I use capital letters, punctuation at the end, period, and it can be multiple sentences as well. Again, RapidWeaver won't limit you there. Ultimately, this is somewhat of an important tag, I believe, potentially because, again, these search engines may use that tag to display this description here. I mentioned in the previous tutorial sometimes it uses the browser title, and it does, and other times it uses the description meta tag. And so if it doesn't do that much for SEO, at the very least it can provide a short description for your visitors to look at, or your potential visitors to see at a glance when they do their search, when they do searches through a search engine. So these are the two primary meta tags that you might want to add. Another one that's popular is called robots, so we could add a meta tag called robots, and typically under content you would just say all. What that does is that tells any web robot, search engine, spider, whatever you want to call them, to go ahead and index your pages, to browse through your pages, and this allows all of them to do so. That's probably not a necessary tag to add, but it certainly doesn't hurt to go ahead and do it. So these are the meta tags associated with the page. Again, this is on the page inspector in the header tab, and because we are doing this through the page inspector, these are specific to the page that we are on, and we're on the home page right now. If I clicked over to website design, we would see the meta tags are empty for the website design page. So we would want to go back through the process of adding tags here, and the idea is that your meta tags are very specific, again, to the topic and to the content of your page. And I didn't mention it earlier, but whatever you use for your keywords, for the most part, these words should also appear in the content. I mentioned earlier keyword stuffing, people adding keywords to their meta tags that did not relate or were not found in their content. You don't want to do that. You just want to use words that will appear in your content. And if you end up adding keywords to the meta tags that don't exist in your content, then maybe you need to rewrite your content or change out some words that to get those words into the text of your web page. So again, these should be included in the content, and then from page to page they should be specific to the content of the page, and that is meta tags for your pages, and that shows up in the code in the HTML, and these are not visible to visitors on your web page. In addition, I want to go really quickly through alt tags. Alt tags are used for images, and so I'm going to drag and drop a JPEG image here onto the page, just a little graphic of a shopping cart, and once I've got this added, I double click, and that brings up the media inspector in RapidWeaver, and we can see here that the file name is whatever I had called it, and mine had already been descriptively titled as shoppingcart.jpg, but if yours comes up as some random characters, you'll probably want to type in a real descriptive file name there. And in addition, the alt tag, and so you could do something like shopping cart or website shopping cart, maybe. A little bit descriptive with the alt tag, very short. You can use a keyword or two, but again, this is similar to a meta tag in that the search engines are wary of people slamming a bunch of keywords into an alt tag. So ultimately, it may not do a whole lot for SEO, but at the very least, it presents nicely on your website for visitors, because as you hover over images, you're probably used to seeing a little tooltip appear, and that tooltip will show you what the meta tag is, or I'm sorry, the alt tag. And it's not actually doing it here in RapidWeaver, but once published to the web, you would get a tooltip on hover that displayed the alt tag associated with the image. And if you've ever done Google image searches, you may wonder how those images come up, and that's through the alt tag as well. And so people may not really find your website using Google image searches, but it's still a good idea just from a professional standpoint to go ahead and use the alt tags for your images. So all of that is up for debate as to whether it really influences search engines and how they rank your website. But my point of view is none of it can hurt. If you've got the time, go ahead and do it. But don't spend too much time, because it may not ultimately be that influential on your search results. Ultimately, again, it is the content of your page that matters. So we will go ahead and wrap up this tutorial.